She said, please don't do anything stupid tonight, so I didn't. I didn't yell, I didn't argue, I didn't embarrass her in front of anyone. I just removed myself from her life completely. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We post real, intense stories like this all the time. You don't want to miss what's coming next. For a long time, I thought the worst thing that could happen in a relationship was being cheated on. I was wrong. The worst thing is realizing that you're convenient, not chosen. I was with Hannah for just under 2 years. On paper, we looked solid. Nice apartment, shared calendar, Sunday grocery runs. Her parents liked me. My coworkers assumed we were headed toward marriage. But slowly, quietly, I became background noise in my own relationship. If I asked why she suddenly needed space every time things got stressful, I was labeled dramatic. If I questioned why she always leaned on certain people instead of me, I was making it about myself. If I expressed discomfort, she'd sigh and say, "Why do you always turn things into problems?" So I learned to swallow it. I learned how to nod, how to smile, how to be the calm, reasonable guy who didn't ask for too much. And Hannah loved that version of me, the version that didn't take up space. The breaking point didn't happen in some dramatic restaurant or at a party. It happened at a corporate retreat. My company rented out a lodge about 3 hours north for a weekend strategy event. Workshops during the day, open bar at night. Hannah was invited as my plus one, along with several other partners and spouses. This weekend mattered to me. I was up for a leadership role, and this was my chance to be visible. The first day went well. I nailed my presentation. My director pulled me aside and told me I was on the radar. I was buzzing with adrenaline and pride. That night, the whole group gathered around a massive fire pit outside the lodge. Drinks, music, laughter, people loosening up. That's when I noticed Hannah wasn't next to me anymore. At first, I didn't think much of it. She's social, she floats. But when I scanned the crowd, I saw her sitting on a low bench near the edge of the light, leaning in close to someone. A guy from a different department. Jason. I recognized him vaguely. Sales, I think. Tall, confident, loud laugh. Hannah was laughing too. Not polite laughter. Real laughter. The kind that bends you forward. The kind I hadn't heard directed at me in a long time. I walked over casually, drink in hand. "Hey," I said, smiling. "Everything good?" Jason glanced at me, then back at Hannah. "Oh, you must be," he started. "My boyfriend," Hannah interrupted quickly. Too quickly. "He works in ops." Ops. Not my name, not my role, just a category. Jason nodded, unimpressed. "Nice," he said, already turning back to her. "So, anyway, like I was saying," he kept talking. She kept listening. I stood there, invisible. I cleared my throat. "We were about to head inside," I said to Hannah. "It's getting cold." She looked irritated. "Can you give me a minute?" she whispered sharply. We're in the middle of a conversation. I blinked. "Okay, please," she cut in, lowering her voice. "Don't make this awkward." That was the first time she said it. I nodded, stepped back, told myself it wasn't worth it. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I watched from across the fire pit as she leaned closer, touched his arm when she laughed. Jason handed her another drink. She didn't refuse it. I checked my phone. No message. I walked back over. "Hannah," I said, firmer this time, "I need to talk to you." She stood up abruptly and pulled me a few steps away. "What is your problem?" she hissed. "My problem?" I repeated. "You disappeared. I've been standing alone at my own company retreat while you—" She raised her hand. "Stop. You're overreacting. I'm asking for basic respect." She exhaled sharply, like I was exhausting her. "Listen," she said. "Jason's been having a rough time at work. He just needed someone to talk to. Don't turn this into something ugly. Ugly." I looked past her. Jason was watching us now, smirking slightly, clearly entertained. "I don't like how this looks," I said quietly. She crossed her arms. "Then maybe that's your insecurity talking." That sentence landed harder than anything else that night. She glanced back at Jason, then back at me. "Just don't do anything stupid tonight," she said. "Please." And then she turned away from me again. I stood there, hands cold, chest tight, while my girlfriend chose someone else's comfort over my dignity. Something in me clicked. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. I realized I wasn't her partner. I was her safety net. I went back inside the lodge alone. I didn't confront Jason. I didn't drag Hannah away. I didn't make a scene. I checked the time. 9:42 p.m. I did some math in my head. If she stayed another drink, maybe two. I had hours. I went up to our room, and I started packing. I didn't slam drawers. I didn't pace the room. I didn't sit on the bed wondering what went wrong. I moved with purpose. The room was quiet. The kind of quiet you only notice when your thoughts finally line up. Hannah's suitcase was still half unpacked from earlier that day. Mine was empty. I started with essentials: laptop, charger, wallet, passport, the watch my grandfather gave me, my work badge, my medication. I ignored anything sentimental. Clothes came next. I didn't fold them. I swept them off the hangers into the suitcase like they were already obsolete. Shirts, jeans, a jacket. I left the hoodie she always stole. Let her keep it. I didn't want reminders. The room began to look wrong, like a photo where someone had been cut out. I moved to the shared work desk by the window. My monitor, my keyboard, my noise-canceling headphones. Then I unplugged the small travel router I'd brought with me. The retreat Wi-Fi was garbage, so I'd brought my own hotspot. The account was in my name. I slipped it into my backpack. Petty? Maybe. But if she wanted to stay connected to Jason, she could use her own data. At 10:18 p.m., my phone buzzed. Hannah, still talking? Relax. I didn't reply. At 10:41 p.m., another message. Hannah, why are you being weird? I zipped the suitcase. I took one last look around the room. 2 glasses on the nightstand. Her makeup bag open in the bathroom. Our reflection no longer existed here. I grabbed my coat and keycard and left. I didn't go back to the fire pit. I didn't look for her. I walked straight to my car. The drive down the mountain felt unreal. No music. Just headlights cutting through darkness and the steady rhythm of my own breathing. At 11:26 p.m., my phone rang. Hannah. I let it ring. I imagined the scene back at the lodge. She'd probably just noticed I wasn't answering. Maybe Jason had gone to get another drink. Maybe she was annoyed, assuming I was sulking. At 11:38 p.m., a text came through. Where did you go? I crossed the county line. I checked into a roadside hotel just after midnight. Nothing fancy. Clean, anonymous. The clerk handed me a keycard without asking questions. Perfect. In the room, I dropped my bag, sat on the edge of the bed, and finally checked my phone. 5 missed calls, 7 texts. I didn't read them yet. I ordered room service, a sandwich and a beer, and sat back against the headboard, shoes still on. At 12:47 a.m., a voicemail came through. Hannah's voice was sharp, irritated. Okay, this isn't funny. Everyone noticed you disappeared. Jason left already, and now I look stupid. Call me back. Tone, annoyed, blaming, no concern. Another voicemail at 1:12 a.m. Why would you leave without telling me? You're being incredibly immature. I'm stuck here without a ride. Tone, anger. Then silence. I slept. Deep. Undisturbed. Like my body had been waiting for permission to rest. The next morning, I woke up clear-headed. There were more messages now. Some angry, some confused, some apologetic. I didn't respond. I drove home alone. When I walked into the apartment, it felt different immediately. Like the air was lighter. I didn't rush this time. I packed slowly. Everything that was mine went into boxes. Not out of spite, out of finality. I didn't take shared furniture. I didn't take photos. I didn't take gifts. I disconnected my accounts, removed my name from shared subscriptions, canceled the internet plan I paid for. At noon, I placed my keys on the kitchen counter. I looked for a pen. I didn't want to write much. I didn't want explanations or accusations. I remembered her words. Don't do anything stupid. So I wrote one sentence. I didn't make a scene. I just chose not to stay. I left the note face up. Then I walked out. At 3:04 p.m., my phone exploded. Calls, texts, voicemails. I didn't answer a single one, because by the time she got home, the apartment would already understand what she hadn't yet, that I was gone. The silence didn't last long. People like Hannah don't sit alone with consequences. They outsource them. 2 days after I left, my phone rang. Unknown number. I already knew who it was. I answered. "Are you proud of yourself?" Her sister snapped before I could say hello. "Do you have any idea what you've done to her?" I leaned back in my chair. "Hi, Claire." "She hasn't slept," Claire continued. "She's barely eating. She's humiliated. You abandoned her over a conversation." "It wasn't a conversation," I said calmly. "It was a pattern." "You're rewriting history," she shot back. "You always do this. You get cold and disappear instead of communicating." "No," I corrected. "I communicated for 2 years. She just didn't listen." Silence. Then, "She said you left her stranded." "I left myself," I replied. "She chose someone else's attention. I chose dignity." Claire scoffed. "You're unbelievable. Tell her I paid my portion of the rent through the end of the month," I added. After that, she's on her own. I hung up. That was when the panic set in. Hannah's emails started coming in waves. Subject lines with nothing in them. Long paragraphs. Short apologies. Angry follow-ups when I didn't respond. One message stood out. "I don't understand how you could do this to me. You always said we were a team. I needed you. She didn't need me. She needed what I provided. I stuck to email only. Lease logistics. No emotions. No debates." 3 weeks later, I got a notification from the property management portal. Payment overdue. I didn't react. 2 days after that, Hannah emailed again. "I can't afford this place alone. You promised we'd build a life together. Please don't do this." I closed the email. She had made promises too. Meanwhile, reality was catching up with her. Jason never texted her again. Not once. According to a mutual coworker, she tried to spin the story. Told people I overreacted and ghosted her. But the details never lined up. Why did he leave the retreat? Why did he move out so fast? Why did he take himself out of everything? People started asking questions. The apartment became a problem she couldn't ignore. Without my income covering most of the expenses, the numbers didn't work. Credit cards filled the gap for a while. Then, they didn't. She tried to negotiate with the leasing office. She cried. She begged. It didn't matter. Breaking the lease cost her the security deposit and a penalty. She moved out, back to her parents' house, the same house she used to call toxic and suffocating. 31 years old. Childhood bedroom. Boxes stacked against the walls. I heard all of this secondhand. I didn't ask. My life, on the other hand, got quieter. In a good way. I found a smaller place closer to work. 1 bedroom, clean lines, no shared decisions. I stopped checking my phone constantly, stopped bracing myself before conversations, stopped explaining normal boundaries. Work improved, focus returned. My director officially offered me the leadership role 3 months later. I accepted. I hadn't heard from Hannah in weeks. I assumed that was it. Then, one morning she showed up. It was a Tuesday, early. I was grabbing coffee near my office before heading in. I heard my name. "Hey," her voice sounded different, softer, worn down. I turned around. She looked smaller somehow. Hair pulled back without care, no makeup, dark circles under her eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked. I glanced at my watch. "I'm on my way to work." "Just a minute," she said quickly. "Please." I nodded once. "You can walk with me." She fell into step beside me. "I messed up," she said immediately. "I see that now. I didn't realize what I was risking. I kept walking. Jason was nothing," she continued. "I don't even know why I let that happen. He stopped responding days after you left. I didn't react. I miss you," she said. "I miss us." We reached the corner of my office building. I stopped. She turned toward me, eyes hopeful. I studied her for a moment. "You don't miss me," I said evenly. "You miss the stability. You miss not being scared." That's not true, she whispered. It is, I replied. Because if you missed me, you would have chosen me when it mattered. Her lips trembled. I can change, she said. Just give me a chance. Let's start over. I almost smiled. Almost. I looked at her the same way you look at a door you've already closed. I already started over, I said. You're just not in that version. Her face collapsed. That's it? She asked. 2 years and you're just done? I nodded. You didn't lose me when I packed my things, I said. You lost me when you told me not to take up space in my own life. She reached for my arm. Not confidently, not like before, desperately. I stepped back. Hannah, I said calmly, you didn't want a partner. You wanted a buffer. Someone to absorb stress, pay bills, and stay quiet while you chased validation elsewhere. That's not fair, she whispered. It is, I replied. Because the moment I stopped making myself smaller, you noticed I was gone. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. There was nothing left to negotiate. I never meant to hurt you, she said. I know, I answered. You just didn't think it would cost you anything. I glanced at the building behind me. I have to go. She nodded slowly, like her body was catching up to the reality her mind had been avoiding. As I turned away, she said my name one last time. I didn't stop. Inside the elevator, I finally exhaled. Not relief, not victory. Closure. Some people think strength looks like confrontation, like shouting, like winning an argument. They're wrong. Sometimes strength is simply leaving without asking permission. I didn't ruin her life. I didn't punish her. I didn't make a scene. I just stopped participating in a role that required me to disappear. And here's the part people don't talk about. When you walk away quietly, the person who underestimated you has to live with the echo. Weeks passed, then months. I heard she tried dating again. It didn't stick. I heard she told people I changed, that I became cold, maybe. Or maybe I just stopped burning myself to keep someone else warm. The last time I thought about her was when I found the hoodie she used to wear, shoved in the back of a closet. I donated it. No anger, no nostalgia, just space. And that's when I realized something important. I didn't lose a relationship. I gained my seat back at my own table.